Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I'm back. This is part 3 of What If Deku had an evolution quirk. My bad about, for one, the video is going to come out later than normal. Secondly, my bad for I took a little bit of a break, so I've been a little bit inconsistent, trying to get my my kind of schedule ironed out, and I've been kind of busy doing other things as well, but I'm back. This is part 3 of What If Deku had an evolution quirk, and I don't want to waste that much more of your time because we got some stuff to get into. And yeah, that's all I got to say, because let's get into it. Let's get it. Izuku Midoriya is asked by the one and only All Might if he wants to take on the powers of One for All, one of the strongest and most powerful quirks out there. And he wonders, should he truly take on the burden of learning One for All? It might be perfect for his quirk, but it also could be massively detrimental if everything doesn't work out perfectly. He has known that his evolution quirk has helped him massively with durability, with speed, with strength, every single thing. So what if it helps him massively with this? But what if it does the opposite? He has no idea what truly can happen if he decides to actually utilize this quirk. So he kind of thinks about it, ponders over it for a little bit, and eventually he would come to the conclusion that he shouldn't take the quirk. He tells All Might that there are other people that are just as worthy, if not more worthy, than even him. Maybe even heroes that are more further along in their hero journey. And he tells them this, and All Might immediately in his head thinks that there is somebody else that was highly recommended to him in terms of giving him One for All. So he tells Izuku that he understands and that he hopes the kid has, you know, all the progress in the frickin' world. And Izuku says that he's gonna be just as strong, if not stronger, than even All Might without the help of even his quirk. In which All Might nods his head and says that he expects the absolute most out of him, and he expects him to be absolutely great. In which that's exactly what Izuku Midoriya wants to do. And this idea of being great and being the best would come very, very soon, because they would have a 4-ish training camp opportunity that would basically be coming very soon. And they would all take a bus over to this 4-ish training camp, and they would get launched off the mountain by the Wild Pussycats. They would fight all of these different Earth-like monsters, and, you know, the same old, but this right here is where things are different, because no villain invasion actually happens with Shigaraki and Kurogiri being captured initially. They were captured initially because of all of the extra work and the extra help that Izuku was able to give in this timeline or in this different universe, and Izuku now gets a full-fledged forest training camp of all this training. And this training is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, Aizawa basically has Izuku work in every single type of environment you possibly can. I mean, every single person that's there would use their quirk on Izuku until he is basically immune to it. In terms of explosions, he's already basically immune to it. But in terms of ice, fire, and normal stuff like that, or different stuff like that, he wouldn't be immune to it just yet. So his durability rates, his durability to weather effects, his durability to everything would go up massively. I mean, so much so that he would take beatings from Tiger and just shrug them off. Every single person that's there, he would take their absolute highest kind of strongest super move and or strongest power, which super moves are something they're able to get to during this time as well, and work on different things too. But Izuku is able to defend against everything. I mean, at the last day, they decide to see what everybody is truly capable of, which, by the way, they have gotten a far bit stronger. Like, every single person has gotten a far bit stronger, and they decide, well, let's see what everyone's capable of. So everyone goes against Izuku. That is the type of kind of progress Izuku Midoriya is able to make within a week to 2 week time span with the proper training. Izuku would absorb and take on every single super move, super power, and or quirk you could possibly imagine, and he would be easily durable enough to take on massive explosions, giant waves of ice and fire, people that are like, people that punch extremely hard, cannonballs getting shot out of a cannon at an insane rate of fire, everything, even sound waves that normally would break the eardrums of many and crack their kind of bones to their core. Every single aspect, every single thing you can think of, he basically becomes immune to everything. And he can feel himself getting that much stronger. Not only durability, but physical strength. His ability to move, walk around, run around. I mean, his body moves as if it's frictionless. I mean, to the point where you put ice on the ground, he has full control over the speed that he runs at. And don't even get me started on the running speed. His running speed might even be or topping the likes of someone like Tenya Ida. That is how fast he's able to run, how fast he's able to move. He has seen himself over and over again just break the mold just every single time, to the point where a lot of these teachers and a lot of the people there are kind of questioning what he can't do. I mean, what can he not do truly? I mean, he can't fly, but who's to say he won't be able to eventually fly? Imagine he can evolve to do so. I mean, they begin to even, or like, during the training sessions, they try to even throw him off of cliffs over and over again to see if he would eventually fly, but nothing really works, and he hasn't really been able to get a grasp on that idea at all. But in terms of the entirety of the forest training camp, this was fruitful, not only for him, but for every single student there. Everyone getting far stronger than you could possibly imagine, and eventually this would be useful because when they're in their bus heading back to UA High School, the bus would be tipped over by a Nomu, and there would be some very, very scary villains coming to actually attack them. Because it's not just the Nomus, it's not just these creatures, it's also Kurogiri and Shigaraki and many of the League of Villains who escaped from prison, now ready for a fight. But this showdown would force the class of Class 1A to actually be in the middle of this fight, be in the middle of what will they have to do to survive. But luckily enough, they're all prepared for this and they're all ready for this. And they begin to fight off all of the Nomus you can think of. But a lot of them, they don't have any troubles. Shoto Todoroki, Katsuki Bakugo, all of them so much stronger, so they don't have any trouble fighting off, or at least maintaining distance from the Nomus. Izuku, on the other hand, he's so strong at this point that he can literally punch through these Nomus and basically just destroy them, ignoring any durability that these Nomus have. But while this is all going on, there's one person fighting the likes of someone like All Might, and that is All For One. All For One is trying to find some way to take down All Might, and he's not only utilizing the League of Villains to try to do so, but he's also trying to use his trump card, because not too far away, everybody can feel the rumbling and the tumbling of a giant creature, and that is Gigantomachia. Gigantomachia is spiraling, running at an insane speed toward this location and toward their location. But here's the thing. No one's ready to take on this giant monster. At least they're not 100% sure if they are. But with kind of the heroes being prepared and Class 1A being a lot stronger, everybody is prepared for these other little villains, leading to Shigaraki and the League of Villains actually being defeated quickly. But All Might's unable to defeat All For One quick enough to actually stop him from, or him being knocked out, because Gigantomachia now has arrived, and now he has two issues to deal with. And in seeing this, Izuku and many of the other Class 1A students go over to try to help All Might. With Shoto Todoroki's ice, he tries to cover Gigantomachia, but has a hard time doing so. But Izuku, he's in the fray already, trying to stop Gigantomachia in his tracks, holding him back and pushing on this giant monstrosity, even jumping up and punching him, trying to bring him down to size. But it seems like nothing is truly working. Izuku's new strength, yes, it has helped him massively, but it has not prepared him for a freak of nature like this. This is someone and something nobody was necessarily prepared for. But with eventually the defeat of All For One, all of the kind of the eyes and all the focus goes toward Gigantomachia. Izuku still trying his best to stop the monstrous creature, but the creature just will not stop, will not relent. And at this point, you have Japan and all of its heroes now evacuated, or has now evacuated all of the other citizens, but also are fighting this giant monster. Izuku, Class 1A, even Class 1B, and all of the other classes are out now, allowed to basically fight alongside everybody. And this giant monster, without preparation, is being dealt with, but they are having casualties. They are losing even students, other pro heroes that are not as powerful, and Izuku tries his best to hold the thing off. He jumps up, grabbing onto its neck, trying to hold it and hold it down, as Best Genius and many others try to basically cut the limbs off from underneath him, or at least make it so that he falls to the ground. As they're able to do this, they hold him still, at least for the moment. Izuku would hold on to these kind of Best Genius's kind of rope-like fabrics, you could even call them, and he's holding on to them for dear life, trying to hold this thing down. All Might, with the last bit of One For All, even helps as well, holding this monstrous creature down, and eventually Midnight herself would be able to get some of her own kind of her own quirk within the lungs of this creature, slowly but surely making it pass out. But it's just not enough just yet. They're trying their absolute best, but nothing is keeping the thing down, and they're trying everything. And it eventually leads to Midnight having to sacrifice herself to unquirk her quirk to a degree she's never done before. And with everybody holding the creature down, it eventually passes out, and all the hero or all the villains now lay dormant, and all the villains are now captured. But it doesn't mean casualties didn't happen. Students, heroes, Midnight, many others, they all fell to this creature because they weren't freaking prepared, and that really pisses them off. But still, Izuku wonders that if he had the quirk of All Might for that long training session, if he had One For All, maybe he could have stopped this in his tracks. Maybe he could have evolved enough to the point where he could have put an end to this creature before anyone died. He looks toward All Might, and then looks toward everyone else that lays there or sits there kind of just out of it, or kind of sad at all the carnage, and he wonders, was this his fault? Was this his fault? His arrogance, thinking that he didn't need One For All, that he could have been better and he could have done things at a better level, and it would have all been just him. Maybe he should have taken the quirk. But All Might comes over to him before, knowing what the kid is thinking, and he tells him that it's not his fault. Far from it, at least, that they should have been better. That he should have been better, that All Might should have been better. But he shakes his head. All Might tells him, don't worry, that everything's going to be okay. Everything is going to be fine. They're going to make sure that everyone that is here gets a proper burial, gets truly a proper funeral, but also all the wounded gets to the hospital very quickly. And that's exactly what happens. Some days would pass, and they would have a funeral and a celebration of life for those who sacrificed themselves. But All For One, everybody else, all of these villains, the League of Villains have been shut down entirely. And everybody, well, they should be happy, but they're not. The casualties make it feel like they lost so much. The casualties make it feel like they lost so much more than they could have possibly gained. But at the end of the day, when you are a hero, sacrifices must be made. And that is what happened. Sacrifice. Sacrifice was made, and sacrifices were made in general. And this is what occurred. Izuku, well, he can't even get his head off the idea of what happened, but still, all he's thinking about is all the people that passed on. But before you could even go on to think more about those people, Izuku is already thrusted into another thing in schooling as they head back days later, and they're all told that they're going to be going out to get their provisional hero license exam, or their provisional hero license. And Izuku, well, he's out of it, not even thinking, not even really realizing what Aizawa is saying. But Aizawa even catches this, telling the kid to stay focused. That's right there, everything that happened, that is your day-to-day hero's journey. Your kind of idea that this could genuinely happen in this world. This could genuinely happen any day you could possibly imagine. And if he wants to keep everyone safe, he better keep his head on straight, because he thinks that he could be one of the greatest heroes. He has to prove it every single day. And that's what he's going to do here. The provisional hero license exam is a simple one, a very simple one. The first kind of plan, or the first kind of type of test, is you have to tag people out with some sort of like dodgeball kind of thing, but you have to tag their lights out. Izuku, when he's put into that scenario, his speed, his strength, and his quickness allows him to easily be able to do just that. But as they continue on, and as Izuku is dealing with so much in his head, the PTSD of what happened sort of kicks in, and well, the next test, or the next kind of exam, doesn't help with that PTSD, because this one is a rescue exam, and Izuku does really well helping and rescuing and doing all the things he needs to do, but it messes with his head quite a bit. All he can think about is the casualties, all the casualties that happened, and all the people that died because all of them, they weren't ready and they weren't strong enough. Yes, they won that day, but did they truly win? When you win, you also at the same time lose. And frankly, in war and in fights like this, there truly are no winners. There's only losers. And Izuku believes that wholeheartedly. But during this rescue portion, he tries his best. He does all he can. And he does quite a bit. He does really good, honestly, in the rescue portion of this exam. But when the villains show up, there's something in his own mind and body that makes him so angry, to the point where he does something that, frankly, everybody will see and think that this guy might be one of the scariest people to ever come out of UA High School. Because when Gang Orca would show up and Todoroki and Inasa would try and basically team up, but not really team up, really mess each other up with their fire and wind, Izuku would step up and face Gang Orca. And he starts beating on Gang Orca. He starts beating him senseless, especially after seeing what Gang Orca did to one of his fellow students, not from his own school, but his fellow student. And he starts beating on Gang Orca. Gang Orca tries everything, tries anything, and nothing affects Izuku. Izuku is an absolute tank, an absolute unit, someone who is borderline, or what feels to be a borderline, immortal. Izuku walks forward, beating on Gang Orca to the point where the sirens would go off, but he wouldn't even hear them. Continuing his beating and fighting, kicking, punching, slamming. He continues all of it, eventually leading to other people pulling him off. And Izuku is in shock at what he just did, not killing Gang Orca or anything like that, but definitely hurting him and sending him to the hospital. And Izuku, well, he would sit at that hospital and sit there for a while. I mean, yes, he would get his provisional hero license because, well, at the end of the day, you can't knock him off for basically continuing a fight that he was doing to protect other people, so they don't really knock him off enough points for him to fail. But Izuku still is feeling extremely guilty about what happened, and he awaits for Gang Orca basically to wake up. And as he does, Gang Orca doesn't even really think that the kid did anything that wrong. He tells the kid that he knows what he's been through, and frankly, sometimes it is hard to peel yourself off of somebody and peel yourself off of the idea of survival. And the kid, well, he's been through a lot, and he was at the very center of it all, and he understands. And he tells him that he gets it, that he's not mad, he's not angry, he's not going to do anything. He just wants the kid to understand that he will get better and that he will be a great hero. He just has to believe it himself and he needs to be prepared for so much to come. In which Izuku would nod his head and think that's the truth, that he needs to be prepared, and he will be prepared. And especially when he gets his chance going into actually learning from someone like, well, Sir Night-Eye. But that's not going to happen just yet, because Mirio decides that he wants to test everyone for a potential work study. This potential work study, or this idea of doing a work study, is going to be shown through the fighting skills of Mirio. And as everybody in his class, Izuku's class, loses to Mirio, Izuku would not be losing to this guy. He would definitely put up his own fights and borderline be kind of unfazed by Mirio's punches, and he would kind of evolve to fighting Mirio, stopping him from basically going into his permeation form, as he would punch Izuku at the same time, and Izuku would punch him at the same time as well, trying to find some way to defeat him, and actually tires out Mirio before Izuku even takes any sustained freaking damage. And Mirio realizes why Sir Night-Eye was so high on this kid in the first place, that he is an absolute freight train, that he may even have the potential to be stronger than someone like Prime All Might, that this kid, he's perfect to take on whoever and whomever he has to deal with. That is the reality of it, and he's perfect to take on someone like Overhaul, whose quirk is made to just absolutely destroy and basically kind of and take over and also disintegrate your body entirely. Overhaul can do so many different things by just touching you, and they know about this, at least to some degree, but they also had no way necessarily of preparing for it, other than someone like Mirio, who is extremely hard to kind of touch. In which, after some time would pass, Izuku would finally get his interview with Sir Night-Eye, in which Sir Night-Eye feels like the kid is ready. Like, the kid definitely is someone who should be and will be prepared for a possible encounter with someone like Overhaul. And he tells the kid that he heard about his little PTSD kind of thing that happened, and he tells him that they're going to test him. They're going to make sure that he's okay, and they're going to always have him working with Mirio until he proves that his head is completely on straight. They even have him go to different therapists that are completely mandated by the Sir Night-Eye agency, and he's able to kind of get a grip a little bit on what's happening. He now knows, like, this is part of the line of work and a big part of the line of work, but frankly, even the therapists say that in this hero world, this is pretty damn normal for it to happen. Things like this happen, and a lot of these heroes walk around with a lot of PTSD and a lot of baggage, in which Izuku nods his head and understands where they're coming from, and understands that that is, frankly, the truth. Now, with all that said, though, Izuku would eventually have a patrol with the one and only Mirio Togata, other known as Lemillion. And this patrol would change everything, because this patrol would actually have them come upon the one and only Overhaul. But here's the thing. They have one thing in question. Do they stop Overhaul here and now, possibly ensuing a massive destruction on the city? Or do they let him walk away with the little girl that seems to be crying out for help? Well, you're going to be able to find out in the next part of What If Deku Had an Evolution Quirk. And if you enjoyed, show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And yeah, that's all I got to say. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.